It's a sweltering summer evening in 1992, deep in the heart of rural Alabama, where the cicadas scream like tormented souls under a blood-red sunset. The air hangs heavy with the scent of magnolias and something far more sinister, something metallic, almost imperceptible, laced into the steam rising from a massive cast-iron pot bubbling on a backyard stove. Inside that pot, a special gumbo simmers prepared not for celebration but for destruction. A bride-to-be, radiant in her simple white dress, lifts the ladle with trembling hands, unaware that every spoonful she serves to her 45 wedding guests carries the bitter kiss of arsenic, enough to twist their insides into knots of agony, to send grown men collapsing in frothing convulsions, and to leave an entire family gasping for breath on the dew-kissed grass. But this isn't just any wedding catastrophe. No, this is the moment Evelyn Hardin, the devoted family cook, a quiet, unassuming black woman in her late 50s, enslaved not by chains but by decades of unspoken servitude in the Hardin household, unleashes her recipe for revenge. One by one, the guests clutch their throats, eyes bulging in disbelief as the poison courses through their veins like liquid fire. Screams pierce the night. "What have you done?" But Evelyn? She stands there, apron stained with the day's labors, a faint, ghostly smile playing on her lips, the first crack in her mask of loyalty. From this visceral plunge into chaos, a storm of emotions crashes over you. Raw fear that grips your chest like icy fingers, intrigue that pulls you deeper into the shadows of betrayal, a flicker of empathy for the invisible chains that bound her, horror at the unraveling of trust in the most sacred of gatherings, and suspense that coils tighter with every unanswered whisper. You're not just watching a story. You're stepping into a dark tunnel, where the walls close in, echoing with the fragility of the human mind. What secret festered in Evelyn's psyche for 32 years to transform a lifetime of silent endurance into this meticulously planned massacre? Was it the whispers of a dissociative disorder, burying her rage so deep it erupted like a volcano? Or something more sinister, a psychiatric fracture that turned her into a vessel for calculated evil, hidden behind the veil of domestic devotion? Few know the full, disturbing truth, that this wasn't blind madness, but a chillingly lucid blueprint of vengeance, rooted in a psychiatric case so bizarre it would baffle even the most seasoned forensic psychologists. It challenges everything you thought you knew about justice, how the law bent for the powerful, how the mind can harbor horrors we dare not imagine, and yes, your own safety. Could someone in your life, smiling as they serve you dinner, be brewing a similar storm? These questions gnaw at you, unresolved, demanding you journey to the end. What drove Evelyn to this edge? How did her fractured psyche weave poison into love? And the twist that will shatter your perceptions. Who truly paid the price? And why did the courts whisper her name as both victim and monster? Stay with me, because peeling back these layers reveals the unpredictability of the human mind. One moment a caregiver, the next a harbinger of doom. It exposes the fragility of morality, how years of abuse can erode sanity like acid on bone, leaving only vengeance in its wake. And it reminds us, uncomfortably, how vulnerable we all are. In our homes, at our tables, surrounded by those we trust most, evil can simmer undetected. Now let's connect right here, in this shared descent into the inexplicable. If this opening grip has stirred something primal in you, the urge to uncover what society buried, hit that cult-like count button right now. By doing so, you're not just supporting the channel, you're amplifying this dark tale, ensuring more souls discover the inexplicable horrors behind these psychiatric enigmas. And in the comments below, type these exact words: "I'm ready to discover the truth about this story." Say it, type it, and feel the bond form. You're declaring your commitment to the mystery, joining a hidden community of truth seekers who refuse to look away from what others dare not tell. We are the ones who illuminate the shadows, piecing together the psychiatric fractures that society pretends don't exist. Congratulations, you're already part of us, brave enough to chase the truth where fear stops others cold. Together, we're rewriting the narratives of the forgotten, one revelation at a time. Prepare yourself, because what comes next contains a key revelation that will forever change the way you see the human mind. The wedding chaos of that fateful night in 1992 fades into a hazy blur of ambulances wailing through the Alabama backroads, their red lights painting the Hardin family estate like a scene from a nightmare. But to understand the poison's path, we must rewind the clock. Back 32 years to 1960, when Evelyn Marie Johnson, a 26-year-old widow from the dusty shanties of Montgomery, first crossed the threshold of the Hardin plantation home. It was a sweltering July dawn, the kind where heat mirages danced on the gravel drive, and Evelyn arrived with nothing but a battered suitcase, a faded photograph of her late husband killed in a factory accident, and a quiet resolve etched into her dark eyes. The Hardins, wealthy cotton mill owners with roots tracing back to the Confederacy, had placed an ad in the local paper. Cook and housekeeper wanted, live-in position, room and board provided. To Evelyn, it seemed like salvation after months of scraping by, washing linens for pennies. Little did she know, she was stepping not into employment, but into a gilded cage of unspoken enslavement. From that first day, Evelyn's world shrank to the rhythms of the Hardin kitchen, a vast, steamy domain of copper pots, flour-dusted counters, and the endless clatter of meal preparation. She rose before the roosters, her hands plunging into dough for biscuits that would nourish the family of 6. Patriarch Harlan Hardin, a stern 45-year-old widower with a temper like summer lightning. His children, arrogant teenage son Tommy, shy 12-year-old daughter Lila, and rambunctious twins Beatrice and Buck, aged 8. And later, Harlan's new bride, the vapid socialite Clara, who swept in 2 years later with her perfume-scented demands. Evelyn cooked 3 squares a day, plus teas, suppers for guests, and holiday feasts that could feed a regiment. But it was never just cooking. She mended clothes stained with the children's muddy romps, soothed Lila's nightmares with whispered lullabies, bandaged Tommy's knuckles after schoolyard brawls, and scrubbed floors until her knees bruised purple, all without a single day off, a single raise, or even a thank you that stuck. Harlan paid her $15 a week, docked for breakages that were never hers, leaving her with pocket change she hid under her mattress, dreaming of buying a small house someday. As the 1960s unfolded, the world outside roared with change. Martin Luther King Jr., his marches echoing from Montgomery just 90 miles away, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 promising equality. But inside the Hardin walls, time stagnated like brackish swamp water. Evelyn, a black woman in a white household, was invisible yet indispensable. Harlan, emboldened by the era's lingering segregation, treated her not as an employee but as property. "Girl, fetch my boots," he'd bark from his leather armchair, never using her name. Clara, with her pearl necklaces and bridge club gossip, sneered at Evelyn's simple recipes, demanding proper Southern cuisine, while relegating her to the back door for meals. The children grew under her care. Tommy blossomed into a spoiled college boy, home on breaks to leer at Evelyn with a hunger that made her skin crawl. Lila confided in her about secret heartaches, only to pull away when Clara forbade fraternizing. The twins, Beatrice and Buck, treated her like a plaything, smearing jam on walls for her to clean. Evelyn endured, her smile a practiced mask, but inside a quiet fracture began to form, a psychiatric seam splitting under the weight of unvoiced humiliations. By the 1970s, Evelyn's servitude deepened into something profoundly disturbing. Harlan's business thrived on exploitative labor, mirroring the chains he wrapped around her. He controlled her every movement. No visitors, no church on Sundays unless she cooked first, no mail without his inspection. When she dared ask for a half-day to visit her ailing mother in 1973, Harlan exploded, slamming his fist on the table so hard a plate shattered. "You're mine to keep this house, girl. Family comes after duty." That night, alone in her cramped attic room, bare walls, a sagging cot, a single bulb flickering like a dying star, Evelyn wept silently, her sobs muffled in a pillow. But tears weren't enough. Something darker stirred. Psychiatrists would later term it the onset of a dissociative identity fracture, born from chronic trauma. In fleeting moments staring at the knife block or the bubbling pots, Evelyn felt a shadow self emerge. Not rage, but a cold, calculating detachment. She began experimenting in secret, noting how certain herbs soured milk overnight, how lye from the soap bin blistered skin on contact. Not yet poison, but the seeds of knowledge, planted in the fertile soil of resentment. The 1980s brought no relief, only intensification. The children married and spawned a new generation, grandchildren who toddled under Evelyn's watchful eye, unaware their nanny was eroding from within. Tommy's wife, the sharp-tongued Vanessa, accused Evelyn of stealing silverware, forcing her to empty her pockets daily. Lila, now a fragile housewife, whispered apologies but did nothing. Harlan, graying and gout-ridden, grew crueler, withholding pay for imagined slights. In 1985, when Evelyn turned 51, she fell ill, exhaustion, perhaps anemia from malnutrition, and begged for a doctor. Clara scoffed. "Rest while you can. Supper won't cook itself." Bedridden for days, Evelyn hallucinated. Visions of her husband's ghost urging her to flee. Shadows of enslaved ancestors murmuring recipes for justice. Emerging weaker but with steelier eyes, she resumed duties, but now with a hidden ledger. Under her mattress, alongside the meager savings, she tucked a notebook, pages filled with dates, slights, and lessons from library books smuggled in. Symptoms of rat poison. Effects of belladonna from wild gardens. It wasn't madness yet. It was method, a psychiatric blueprint where sanity bent to survival. As the 1990s dawned, the Hardin family swelled toward the wedding that would shatter everything. Harlan, now 75, announced his granddaughter Sarah's engagement to a promising lawyer, planning a grand affair on the estate grounds. Evelyn, 58, was tasked with the feast, gumbo, cornbread, pecan pie for 45 souls. But in the quiet hours, her shadow self whispered louder. The notebook grew thick with plans. Arsenic from the garden sheds pesticides, tasteless in stew, lethal in doses. Why? A culmination of fractures, decades of dehumanization cracking her psyche into compartments. The loyal cook, the grieving widow, and the avenger, dissociated yet dominant. She tested on strays, cats vanishing into the woods, watching their twitches with clinical detachment. No gore, no screams described, just the eerie silence of calculated practice. By spring 1992, as invitations went out, Evelyn's mask was flawless, her heart a cauldron of suppressed fury. The day before the wedding, as she chopped okra under the kitchen's harsh fluorescence, Lila entered hesitantly. "Evelyn, you've been with us so long. Like family." Evelyn paused, knife hovering, her reflection in the blade showing eyes like polished obsidian. "Family," she echoed softly, the word tasting like ash. Lila left, oblivious. That night, Evelyn measured the arsenic, pure white powder, enough for agony without instant death. She stirred it into the gumbo base at dawn, her hands steady, mind adrift in a dissociative fog where morality dissolved. The pot simmered, innocent steam rising as guests arrived hours later, laughing, toasting love. And then, the first gasps, the collapses, the screams that pulled us back to that blood-red sunset. But this was only the prelude. Deeper fractures awaited, revelations that would expose how Evelyn's psyche had harbored not one, but multiple shadowed selves, each guarding a piece of the revenge puzzle. The ambulances sped away, but the true horror was just beginning to uncoil. The wedding feast's steam still curled lazily into the twilight sky as the first victim, a burly uncle named Earl, red-faced from too much bourbon, lifted his bowl of gumbo with a hearty laugh, complementing the rich, earthy flavor that masked the arsenic's metallic tang. Seconds later, his spoon clattered to the ground, his massive frame crumpling like a felled oak onto the checkered tablecloth. Around him, a domino wave of horror. Sarah, the bride, clutching her throat in her lace gown, whispering, "Mama, it burns." Harlan Hardin, the iron-fisted patriarch, staggering back from his chair with guttural gasps, his eyes locking onto Evelyn's serene face across the yard. Clara collapsing into a flower bed, pearls scattering like tears, and the grandchildren, wide-eyed innocents, retching onto the grass as aunts and cousins wailed in unison. Chaos erupted, not with blood but with the suffocating grip of invisible venom snaking through veins, turning celebration into a symphony of agony. Sirens wailed in the distance, but in that frozen moment Evelyn stood motionless by the stove, ladle in hand, her expression a void of calm that chilled the air more than the dying sun. No flight, no confession, just a quiet observation, as if she were merely watching a play unfold from the wings. Deputies arrived first, then paramedics, hauling the writhing guests into vans, leaving the estate a ghost town of overturned chairs and half-eaten bowls. Evelyn? She was led away in cuffs, her apron still tied, murmuring only, "The recipe was perfect." In the sterile glare of Montgomery General Hospital's emergency wing that night, doctors battled the poison's tide. 23 guests survived after charcoal treatments and IV drips, their bodies racked by days of nausea and phantom pains, but 5 did not. Harlan, Clara, Uncle Earl, Sarah's maid of honor, and young cousin Timmy, just 10 years old. Autopsies confirmed arsenic, pure, deliberate, sourced from the estate's pest shed. Whispers spread like kudzu. The cook did it. But as investigators combed the Hardin home, they uncovered not just motive, but a psychiatric labyrinth that would redefine the case. Evelyn was booked into the county jail, a dim cell with a cot and a flickering bulb, where for the first 48 hours, she spoke to no one. Her silence wasn't defiance. It was dissociation, a psychiatric veil dropping over her core self. When the state-appointed psychiatrist, Dr. Elias Crow, a wiry man in his 60s with wire-rimmed glasses and a notebook perpetually in hand, entered her cell on the 3rd day, he found Evelyn staring at the wall, humming an old spiritual, "Swing low, sweet chariot." "Tell me, Evelyn," he began gently. "Why the wedding?" Her response was a whisper. "They ate my life. Time they tasted mine." Dr. Crow's sessions over the next week peeled back layers of a mind fractured not by sudden madness, but by decades of cumulative trauma, a textbook case of dissociative identity disorder, DID, formerly multiple personality disorder, emerging from chronic abuse. Evelyn didn't deny the poisoning. She narrated it with eerie detachment, as if recounting a neighbor's gossip. But as sessions deepened, Evelyn the cook receded, and a shadow self surfaced. Lila, named after the daughter she'd half-raised, a fierce, articulate voice that spoke in clipped sentences. Lila revealed the notebook, seized from under the mattress, pages dense with meticulous entries. 7/15/73. Harlan docs pay for lazy eyes. Note: belladonna causes blurred vision. 4/22/85. Clara mocks cornbread. Test: nightshade in milk sours stomach. But Lila wasn't vengeful. She was protective, a guardian altar born in 1973 during Evelyn's denied visit to her dying mother. "I kept her safe," Lila said, eyes hardening. "When the pain got too loud, I took the wheel." Dr. Crow probed further. Hypnosis sessions in a curtained room revealing more altars. Mama Ruth, the wise ancestor's voice murmuring herbal lore from slavery days. Tommy, a mocking echo of the leering sun, practicing doses on pests. And Widow, the grieving core, sobbing for her lost husband. Each altar held a fragment of rage, compartmentalized to preserve sanity in servitude. The psychiatric evaluation stretched into October 1992, a grueling montage of interviews, Rorschach tests, and sodium amytal injections that unlocked repressed memories. Evelyn's DID wasn't random. It was adaptive genius, her psyche splintering to endure. Flashback tapes from sessions captured it vividly. Under hypnosis, Lila described the 1968 night Tommy cornered Evelyn in the pantry, his breath hot with entitlement, hands groping, unreported, swallowed in silence to keep her job. Mama Ruth recounted Clara's 1979 humiliation, forcing Evelyn to eat scraps from the dog's bowl after a burnt roast. Widow wept over letters from her mother, intercepted and burned by Harlan in 1984. These weren't isolated incidents, they formed a tapestry of dehumanization, each thread tightening the dissociative bonds. Dr. Crow noted in his 150-page report, subjects' alters represent a sophisticated defense mechanism, channeling trauma into hyper-focused vengeance. The poisoning was not impulsive but orchestrated by the collective, with Lila as architect. Dosing calibrated for suffering, not swift death, to mirror 32 years of slow erosion. Court preparations amplified the disturbance. As Evelyn's public defender, a young idealist named Marcus Hale, pored over the psych files, he uncovered a second layer. Evelyn's illiteracy masked brilliance. She'd memorized recipes, symptoms, and timelines orally. Lila, absorbing library whispers during rare market trips. Hale argued insanity, but the prosecution, led by ambitious DA Victor Lang, painted her as a monster. A Trojan horse in an apron. Pre-trial hearings in the county courthouse, a creaky relic with peeling paint, drew crowds. Black activists decrying systemic racism, white locals baying for blood. Evelyn sat through them in an ill-fitting gray suit, her alters flickering. sometimes vacant, sometimes smirking. One hearing's bombshell. Forensic tests on estate strays confirmed arsenic trials dating to 1989. Lila's proving ground. Gasps rippled. Even Hale blanched. Yet empathy flickered. Testimony from Lila Hardin, now 44, tearfully admitting, "She was more mother than I ever had." The judge ordered deeper evals at Bryce Hospital, Alabama's state psych facility, a sprawling Gothic maze of barred windows and echoing halls. There in November 1992, under locked wards and 24-hour watches, Evelyn's psyche uncoiled fully. Group therapy circles revealed Tommy Alter's rage. He took what wasn't his. I gave them his pain back. Art sessions produced chilling drawings. Pots bubbling with skeletal hands reaching up captioned "Family Stew." Dr. Crow diagnosed severe DID with sadistic undertones but rooted in PTSD from racial and domestic trauma. Evelyn integrated partially, widow dominating, pleading, "I just wanted to be free." But Lila lurked, whispering during lights out, "Not done yet." Hale built a defense around this, trauma-induced dissociation absolving intent, but Lang countered with witness lists. Survivors describing Evelyn's ghost smile as they convulsed. Media frenzy peaked. Newspapers dubbed her the poison pansy. TV crews camped outside Bryce. Evelyn, glimpsed through barred windows, waved once, a serene gesture that haunted viewers. By December, as holiday lights twinkled mockingly outside, transfer back to jail loomed. In her final Bryce session, Dr. Crow asked, "Regrets?" Evelyn's eyes shifted. Lila answered, "Only that some plates stayed empty." The shadow self wasn't sated. It hinted at unfinished business, a deeper fracture waiting to erupt in trial. Hale met her that eve, clutching files, voice trembling. "We'll fight for you." She nodded, but in the dim light her lips curved, the Avenger's promise unbroken. The courtroom awaited, but so did revelations. How the Hardins' own secrets would entwine with Evelyn's psyche, turning victim into a mirror for their sins. The gavel would fall, but the true verdict lay in the mind's uncharted depths. The winter chill of January 1993 seeped through the cracked oak doors of the Montgomery County Courthouse, a faded monument to Southern justice where Confederate ghosts seemed to linger in the rafters. Snow flurries danced outside like scattered ashes as the trial of Alabama vs. Evelyn Hardin commenced. The air inside thick with anticipation, and the faint scent of polished wood mingled with desperation. Evelyn, now 59, shuffled into the courtroom flanked by deputies, her once vibrant frame shrunken beneath a borrowed navy dress that hung loose on her shoulders. Her eyes, dark pools reflecting a lifetime of swallowed storms, scanned the packed gallery. Black activists in solidarity clusters, their faces etched with the weight of history. White families from the Hardin circle, murmuring prayers for retribution. Reporters scribbling furiously. And in the front row, Lila Hardin, pale and trembling, clutching a handkerchief stained with unspoken guilt. The judge, Honorable Amos Whitaker, a grizzled 68-year-old with a reputation for no-nonsense verdicts, banged his gavel, silencing the buzz. "We are here to determine if Evelyn Marie Hardin acted with malice, or if her mind betrayed her," he intoned, his voice gravelly as riverbed stones. But from the moment Evelyn took the stand, the trial became less a legal proceeding and more a psychiatric excavation, unearthing fractures that mirrored the courtroom's own divides. Prosecutor Victor Lang, a slick 42-year-old with a shark's smile and tailored suits, opened with surgical precision, painting Evelyn as a cold-blooded saboteur. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, pacing like a preacher. "This woman didn't snap, she schemed. For 32 years, she simmered in our midst, then served death at a wedding altar." He projected slides from the evidence locker, the seized notebook, its pages magnified to reveal Evelyn's meticulous script, columns of dates, slights, and antidote-free poison charts. "Look here, 31490. Vanessa accuses theft. Dose 0.5 g arsenic in coffee, nausea, no death. Practice runs on the family dog, confirmed by vets." Gasps rippled. A juror, a middle-aged farmer, crossed himself. Lang called survivors first. Uncle Earl's widow, her voice cracking, described her husband's final hours, foaming at the mouth, begging for water that burned going down. Not graphic wounds, but the soul-crushing agony of betrayal. Sarah, the widowed bride, now 24, testified in a whisper, I saw her smile as I fell. No regret, just satisfaction. Lang hammered the intent. Her shadow self was no excuse. It was her weapon. He subpoenaed Dr. Crow as a hostile witness, grilling him on DID. Doctor, isn't this just a fancy term for lying? Crow, unflinching, countered. No, Mr. Lang, it's survival. Evelyn's alters formed to compartmentalize trauma, allowing her core self to function. Marcus Hale, Evelyn's defender, a 32-year-old civil rights firebrand with a Harvard sheen and a stutter under pressure, countered with empathy's blade. This isn't about a monster, he urged, voice steadying, but a woman broken by monsters. He wheeled in a projector for Hale's masterstroke. Archived home videos smuggled from the Hardin attic, grainy 8mm reels capturing the servitude's slow poison. The jury watched, transfixed, as 1965 footage showed young Evelyn, apron-clad, chasing toddlers Beatrice and Buck through sun-dappled lawns, her laughter genuine yet edged with exhaustion. Cut to 1978, Harlan bellowing at her over a soggy pie, veins bulging while Clara smirked from the doorway. A 1986 clip chilled deepest. Tommy, drunk at a family barbecue, cornering Evelyn by the smokehouse, his slurred advances met with her frozen retreat. The camera panned away, but the implication hung heavy. Hale narrated, 32 years without a raise, holidays, or dignity. Intercepted letters to her dying mother in 73, burned by Harlan. Denied medical care in 85, hallucinating ancestors in fever dreams. He called Lila Hardin, who took the stand, sobbing. Evelyn raised me when Mama wouldn't. She sang me to sleep, bandaged my knees. We treated her like nothing, like Lila's breakdown, admitting Clara's cruelties, Tommy's assaults, cracked the prosecution's facade, jurors dabbing eyes. The psychiatric testimony became the trial's throbbing heart, a 9-day marathon that blurred law and mind. Dr. Crow returned, flanked by charts, brain scans showing Evelyn's hyperactive amygdala, trauma's scar tissue. DID isn't fiction, he explained, voice measured. Evelyn's alters, Lila, Mama Ruth, Tommy emerged as shields. Under hypnosis, Lila planned the doses to inflict prolonged suffering, echoing the Hardins' slow, emotional starvation. Demonstrations stunned. In a curtained booth, Hale induced a switch. Evelyn's posture straightened, voice sharpened to Lila's timbre. They owned her body, I reclaimed it. Jurors leaned forward, one whispering, Lord have mercy. Lang cross-examined viciously. So this Lila is innocent? Crow. No one's innocent in fracture. Hale called a second expert, Dr. Miriam Voss, a Yale-trained African-American psychiatrist specializing in racial trauma. Evelyn's case is emblematic, Voss testified, her presence commanding. Chronic microaggressions, girl, backdoor meals, paydocking, compounded by sexual assault and isolation, birthed her dissociation. The poisoning? Catharsis, not calculation. Voss revealed repressed memories unlocked at Bryce. Evelyn's 1962 stillbirth, hidden pregnancy from a coercive encounter with Harlan, buried to keep her job. The gallery erupted. Lang objected furiously, but the seed of doubt rooted. Mid-trial bombshells detonated like suppressed thunder. Forensic accountant testimony exposed Harlan's ledgers. Evelyn's $15 weekly pay, unchanged since 1960, totaling under $25,000 over 32 years. Modern equivalent, a pittance funneled into Hardin coffers. A surprise witness, Evelyn's estranged niece from Montgomery, produced intercepted letters. Pleas for help ignored, postmarked, return to sender, Hardin. Then the twist that tilted scales. Tommy Hardin, subpoenaed, crumbled on the stand. Under Hale's gentle probing, he confessed the 1968 pantry assault, tears streaming. I was young, drunk. She never told. Lang's redirect backfired. Tommy's sobs humanized Evelyn's rage. Media swarmed. Headlines screamed, Cook's revenge or victim's cry. Outside, protests swelled. NAACP banners clashing with Justice for Sarah signs. Inside, Evelyn testified last, her voice a monotone hymn. I cooked their lives away, they ate every bite of my pain. Under cross, Lila surfaced briefly. Would do it again. The courtroom froze. Whitaker adjourned, face ashen. Deliberations dragged 6 days. Jury sequestered in a motel amid blizzards. Leaked notes revealed divides. 3 holdouts for murder, swayed by trauma evidence. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, a cruel irony, verdict rang out. Guilty on 5 counts of first-degree murder but insanity plea upheld. Life without parole at Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women, Psych Ward. Cheers and boos collided. Evelyn rose unblinking as Hale embraced her. "You gave me voice," she whispered. Lang fumed to reporters. Justice poisoned. But the true crucible burned hotter still. Post-verdict, sealed Hardin family files, unsealed by Hale's motion, revealed Harlan's 1970s tax fraud, using Evelyn's underpaid labor as a deduction. Lila inherited the estate, donating half to a domestic workers fund in Evelyn's name. Dr. Crow visited Evelyn in chains. Integration? She smiled faintly. The shadows sleep, but they remember. Yet the trial's echoes lingered, a psychiatric aftershock. Survivors formed support groups haunted by phantom tastes. Sarah, childless, volunteered at abuse shelters. Evelyn's notebook became a criminology text, studied at John Jay College. But whispers persisted. During transport to Tutwiler, Lila allegedly slipped a guard a note. Not all 8. Investigators revisited the wedding guest list. 2 no-shows, cousins estranged by Hardin feuds. Paranoia rippled. Was the recipe incomplete? Hale, poring over files, uncovered a final fracture. Evelyn's pre-trial art from Bryce. A sketch of an empty chair labeled Tommy's Place. He hadn't attended nursing a flu. The Avengers' precision chilled. Selective justice. As spring thawed Alabama's fields, the courthouse stood silent. But Evelyn's mind roared on, her dissociation a map to deeper vendettas. The gavel had fallen, but the psyche's trial was eternal, promising revelations that would bind victim and villain in unbreakable chains. The clang of the reinforced steel door at Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women reverberated through Evelyn Hardin's bones like a final, unyielding verdict as she was escorted into the psychiatric wing on a drizzly March morning in 1993. The air inside was a stifling cocktail of industrial cleaner, stale sweat, and the faint acrid tang of medications dispensed through a slot in the door. A far cry from the magnolia-scented kitchens of her past life. At 59, Evelyn's frame had withered further under trial stresses. Her once strong hands now veined and trembling slightly as she shuffled into cell 217, a 8x10 concrete box furnished with a bolted-down cot, a stainless steel toilet sink combo, and a narrow slit window offering a sliver view of Alabama's greening fields, tantalizing glimpses of freedom that mocked her confinement. The ward, a dimly lit corridor lined with 20 similar cells, hummed with the low moans of other fractured souls, schizophrenic whispers, bipolar rants, and the occasional hysterical sob that pierced the night like a knife. Evelyn sank onto the thin mattress, her navy dress replaced by a shapeless gray jumpsuit stamped Inmate Hardin, and for the first time since the wedding's chaos, true silence enveloped her. But in that void, her psyche stirred, not in remorse, but in restless reconfiguration, the altars shifting like ghosts in a haunted house, each seeking dominance in this new prison of body and mind. Intake protocols began immediately, a bureaucratic ritual designed to strip away the last shreds of individuality. Nurse Ida Ramirez, a no-nonsense Latina in her 40s with calloused hands from years on the ward, conducted the initial assessment in a sterile exam room adjoining the cells. "Name?" she barked, clipboard in hand. Evelyn's eyes glazed, then sharpened. Lila responded crisply, "Evelyn Hardin, but you can call me the one who serves justice." Ramirez noted the switch, unflinching. Tutwiler's psych unit had seen worse. Vital signs. Pulse elevated at 92, blood pressure 148/88, remnants of arsenic stress and trial adrenaline. Blood work confirmed no lingering toxins in her system, but psychological profiling dove deeper. Dr. Leonard Fisk, the ward's chief psychiatrist, a balding, bespectacled man of 55 with a soft southern drawl masking his Yale pedigree, arrived that afternoon for orientation. "Welcome to your new home, Ms. Hardin," he said, settling into a folding chair opposite her at a bolted table. "We're here to integrate, not incarcerate." Evelyn met his gaze evenly. "Widow?" surfacing in a whisper. "Integrate what? The pieces they broke?" Fisk's sessions commenced thrice weekly, each a 90-minute probe into the DID labyrinth, taped for review, and court-mandated progress reports. The first month blurred into a monotonous rhythm of confinement's cruel psychology. 6 a.m., réveil blaring like a factory horn. Breakfast trays slid through slots. Oatmeal and powdered eggs that tasted of cardboard. A bitter irony for the master cook. Evelyn ate mechanically, but Mama Ruth emerged during meals, murmuring herbal remedies to counter the institutional slop. Chew slow. Let the spirits heal. Mornings brought group therapy in the communal day room, a cavernous space with faded blue walls, scattered plastic chairs, and a TV bolted high playing muted soaps. 12 women circled under Fisk's facilitation, a paranoid schizophrenic accusing mirrors of spying, a borderline personality cutter hiding scars under sleeves, a PTSD veteran from Gulf War flashbacks. Evelyn sat apart at first, observing with Lila's calculating eyes, but on week 3, Fisk prompted, "Share your trigger, Evelyn." Her voice cracked open. The table, set for love, served with hate. The group leaned in. A young meth addict named Tanya wept. "I get it, family poison slow." Bonds formed tentatively. Whispered recipes exchanged in the laundry room where Evelyn's hands regained purpose folding linens, her altars stabilizing through routine. Yet the fractures deepened under isolation's pressure cooker. Nights were the worst. Lights out at 9 p.m. plunged the ward into Stygian dark, broken only by flashlight patrols every hour. Evelyn's cot became a battlefield for internal wars, altars clashing in dreamscapes vivid as reality. Hypnagogic visions replayed the wedding, guests' faces contorting, Harlan's dying glare accusing, Sarah's bridal veil wilting like a poisoned flower. "Tommy," altar raged in nocturnal monologues pounding the thin pillow. "He lives free, I rot." Fisk's notes documented escalating switches, up to 7 per session by April. Medications entered the fray. 200 mg sertraline for depression, 2 mg risperidone for psychosis, titrated slowly to avoid widow's withdrawal sobs. Side effects haunted, weight gain bloating her frame, tremors making utensils dance, vivid nightmares where arsenic crystals bloomed in her veins like thorny roses. In an April 15th session, under guided imagery, Lila confessed a pre-trial plan aborted. Spiking Tommy's untouched plate had been intentional. Flu or not, he'd dodged death by absence. Fisk probed. Regret? Lila. Opportunity lost. The revelation chilled. Fisk ordered increased monitoring, fearing residual intent. External echoes amplified the internal storm. Mail arrived sporadically, filtered for contraband, bringing a deluge of reactions to the poison pansy. Fan letters from true crime enthusiasts. "You're a hero against the elite." Hate mail scorched. "Rot in hell, murderer." Lila Hardin's weekly parcels touched deepest. Fresh cornbread baked in her old pans, notes pleading forgiveness. "The estate's empty without you. Donate proceeds to workers' rights." Evelyn wept reading them. Widow dominating, but Lila tore one note unread. Visits commenced in May. Hale, her defender, bi-monthly through plexiglass, updating appeals. Federal review pending on racial bias in sentencing. "You're a landmark case," he urged. Did plus historical abuse precedent for reform. Media glimpses via smuggled newspapers. Oprah segment on Tutwiler. Interviewing survivors. Sarah's tell-all book excerpt. "Her smile haunts my dreams." Public opinion shifted. Petitions for clemency gathered 5,000 signatures, citing trauma over malice. A pivotal fracture erupted June 12th during a ward lockdown after a suicide attempt elsewhere. Confined 48 hours, Evelyn's isolation peaked. Altars fragmented wildly. Fisk's emergency eval captured it. Evelyn catatonic, then convulsing verbally. Mama Ruth chanting ancestral curses. Tommy snarling threats against unseen Hardins. Lila plotting escape via kitchen access, denied in psych wing. Sedated with lorazepam, she stabilized, but the episode birthed a new altar. Chariot, a serene integrator whispering unity. Fisk accelerated therapy. EMDR sessions reliving 1968 assault. Eye movements desensitizing trauma's grip. Progress flickered. Evelyn sketched again, not skeletal pots but blooming gardens, captioned Healing Broth. Group dynamics evolved. She mentored Tanya through detox, sharing breathwork. Inhale the hurt, exhale the hold. By July's swelter, integration advanced 40%. Fewer switches, core Evelyn narrating coherently. The shadows protected me. Now I protect myself. But deeper disturbances simmered. Fisk uncovered repressed layers via sodium pentothal. 1959 pre-Hardin trauma. Husband's death not accident, but mill sabotage by Harlan's competitors. Whispered cover-up. Evelyn's entry into servitude? Coerced by Harlan's charity offer masking control. This bombshell reframed everything. Poison, not just revenge, but justice for stolen life. Hale filed supplemental briefs. D.A. Lang fumed in leaks. Ward life intertwined. Evelyn's reputation grew. Patients called her recipe queen, seeking advice on poisoning bad habits. A contraband cookbook circulated, her mental recipes transcribed. August brought a transfer scare to maximum security after Lila's threat overheard, but Fisk advocated retention. She's healing, not harming. As fall leaves turned crimson outside her slit window, Evelyn's journal, therapist approved, filled with reflections. Prison walls can't hold the mind that broke chains. Switches rarefied, chariot mediated, weaving altars into a tapestry. Yet a final echo haunted. Tommy Hardin's obituary smuggled in September. Heart attack at 42, guilt's toll. Evelyn read silently, a single tear tracing her cheek. Widow mourned the boy she'd half raised. Lila smirked unseen. Fisk noted, catharsis complete? Evelyn. The recipe ends, but the flavor lingers. Appeals hearings loomed in October, promising upheaval. Lila's visit that month. Come home when free. Evelyn clasped the phone. Home was never there. The iron cell had forged her anew. Not broken, but annealed. Psyche's echoes harmonizing into a symphony of survived fury. But as clemency whispers grew, a clandestine fracture awaited exposure. Hardin family skeletons rattling toward resurrection, binding Evelyn's fate to unfinished vendettas in ways that would shatter prison walls and psyches alike. The autumn rain lashed against the barred windows of Julia Tutwiler's visiting room, like accusatory fingers on October 15, 1993, drumming a relentless rhythm that mirrored the pounding in Evelyn Hardin's temples as she pressed the receiver to her ear. Through the smudged plexiglass divider, Lila Hardin, now 45, her once youthful face etched with lines of regret and resolve, leaned forward, her breath fogging the barrier. Evelyn, she whispered urgently, voice trembling like a leaf in the gale outside. I found it, the ledger. Father's real one, not the court files. It proves everything. Evelyn's grip tightened on the phone, her knuckles blanching against her dark skin. For a split second her eyes flickered. Lila, altar surfacing in a sharp inhale, then receding as chariot steadied her. The visiting room, a sterile cube of faded green walls and hard plastic stools bolted to the floor, hummed with subdued conversations from other inmates and families. But in that moment, the world narrowed to this exchange, a psychic bridge spanning decades of buried truths. Lila slid a manila envelope under the partition slot, its contents sealed by court order but smuggled past guards with a bribe to a sympathetic clerk. Evelyn's hands, steady from months of therapy, opened it slowly, pages rustling like dry bones awakening. What lay within wasn't just paper. It was dynamite, a psychiatric detonator poised to rewire her fractured mind and upend the justice system that had caged her. Back in cell 217 that evening, under the harsh beam of her desk lamp, a therapy privilege, Evelyn pored over the ledger by flashlight after lights out. The 200-page tome, a relic of Harlan Hardin's clandestine empire. Bound in cracked leather, its entries spanned 1960-1992, scrawled in Harlan's crabbed hand. Not mere finances, but a confession of exploitation etched in ink. First entry, July 12, 1960. Acquired Cook E. Johnson. Cost, $0, no salary contract, deductible labor. Evelyn's breath caught. Her servitude wasn't employment. It was indenture. A modern slavery veiled as benevolence. Pages chronicled deductions. 1963, $2 for broken plate, E's fault. 1972, $5 for slow service. 1984, $10 for illness absence. Totals, $24,160 paid over 32 years. But after fees, Evelyn netted $8,472, less than minimum wage, laundered through Hardin taxes as household expense. Deeper horrors unfolded. 1968 entry, post-assault. T indiscretion with E, no report. Bind her with silence bonus withheld. Evelyn's core self shuddered. Widow, weeping silently as repressed flashbacks surged. Harlan's knowing smirk the next morning, pay docked for distraction. Dr. Fisk's next session captured the switch. Evelyn catatonic mid-sentence, Tommy Alter snarling. He watched, planned it. Fisk sedated her, but the ledger's poison seeped into therapy, accelerating integration by 20% overnight. Alters converging around shared outrage. Lila's smuggling ignited a firestorm beyond bars. Hale, alerted by a coded letter, recipe complete, stormed federal court in Birmingham on October 20th, filing for habeas corpus with the ledger as Exhibit A. Media erupted. CNN headlines blared, "Poison Pansy or Enslaved Saint." Protests swelled outside Tutwiler. Domestic workers marching with signs. Evelyn's chains were real. Inside, Evelyn's ward transformed. Inmates whispered of the Queen's Ledger, group therapy detouring into discussions of invisible bondage. Fisk documented, artifact catalyzes anamnesis, repressed memories flooding alters dialoguing internally. A pivotal session October 25th. Under EMDR, Evelyn relived 1973. Mother's deathbed plea intercepted. Harlan burning letters with a Zippo, chuckling, "Family stays in house." Mama Ruth emerged, voice ancestral. Blood debt. The ledger confirmed. Harlan's 1973 entry. Isma dies, no leave, save 15 week. Evelyn integrated further, sketching the burning letters. Flames forming a noose around Harlan's silhouette. Medications adjusted. Risperidone halved, allowing clarity without chaos. By November, switches dropped to twice weekly. Chariot, narrated. One mind, many recipes for truth. Federal hearings commenced November 8th in a packed Birmingham courtroom, the ledger projected on screens for all to see. Judge Elena Vasquez, a sharp-eyed Latina in her 50s, presided, her gavel a thunderclap silencing D.A. Lang's objections. Hale opened masterfully. "This isn't a poisoning trial, it's peonage. 18 U.S.C. par 1581 violation. Evelyn was enslaved, her DID a direct result." Witnesses paraded. IRS auditor testifying Harlan's deductions equaled tax evasion exceeding $500,000. Labor historian contextualizing post-civil rights indenture in the South. Dr. Voss returning, linking ledger entries to trauma timeline. Each docking a micro-trauma compounding dissociation. Lila testified tearfully, ledger in lap. Daddy controlled her mail, visitors, even church. She raised us. We owned her. Lang countered feebly. Irrelevant to murders. But Vasquez overruled, ordering Tutwiler psych review. Bombshell. Forensic accounting revealed Harlan's 1980s side hustle, using Evelyn's recipes for catering events, pocketing profits while docking her pay. Entry. Ease gumbo, 2K a night. Her cut, $0. Evelyn's transport to Birmingham for testimony was a psychiatric gauntlet. Van ride through pouring rain. Guards twitchy after Lila's reputation. In the witness box, November 15th, she shone, integrated poise, voice steady. "The ledger was my mirror," she said, eyes locking Vasquez's. "They wrote my pain in dollars." Undercross, Lang sneered. "So you poisoned for back pay?" Evelyn, core self-dominant. "No, for the life stolen." Jurors, advisory panel, nodded. Whispers of "not guilty" circulated. Post-testimony, private moment with Lila in holding. "Forgive." Evelyn. "The ledger forgives nothing. It frees." Vasquez recessed, mulling. Ward life pulsed with ledger's aftershocks. Inmates formed chain breakers circle. Evelyn facilitating. Breathwork for bondage survivors. Tanya, her mentee, shared abuse parallels. Evelyn's response. Cook your own freedom. Fisk noted 60% integration. Alters as allies, not enemies. Media visits. 60-minute segment. Evelyn filmed sketching ledger pages into healing mandalas. Public support surged. Petitions hit 25,000. Celebrities like Oprah donated to legal fund. But fractures lingered. December 2nd. Nightmare of Harlan's ghost demanding repayment. Tommy whispered. His heart attack. My arsenic in the well water years prior. Fisk probed. Repressed dosing. Tests negative, but doubt seeded paranoia. Climactic hearing. December 20th. Vasquez ruled. Habeas granted. Case remanded for retrial on peonage grounds. Lang apoplectic. Hale jubilant. Evelyn, watching via closed circuit in Tutwiler, smiled. First genuine since 1960. Chariot. Recipe evolves. But the ledger hid one final venom. Back page, 1991. Ease savings, $8,470 under mattress. Heir, estate upon death. Harlan's ploy, keep her broke. Inherit all. Lila, inheriting, transferred funds immediately. $100,000 adjusted for inflation. Wired to Evelyn's appeal trust. Tears flowed in cell. Widow mourned lost years, but core Evelyn vowed, rebuild. As 1993 closed, snow-blanketing Alabama fields, Evelyn's psyche bloomed, 85% integrated. Journal entry. Ledger closed. My book opens. Hale plotted retrial strategy. Civil suit against Hardin estate for reparations. Survivors reached out. Sarah visiting. Your pain birthed mine. Let's heal. Ward celebrated New Year's with smuggled cornbread. Evelyn's recipe, symbol of reclamation. Yet a subterranean fracture pulsed. Tommy's widow, Vanessa, ledger in hand, plotting countersuit from grave-robbing accusations. Whispers reached Tutwiler. Hardin's fight back. Evelyn, sensing it, sharpened. Shadows ready. The unveiled ledger had rewritten her chains into wings, but as federal gavel loomed, a clandestine vendetta brewed. Hardened skeletons clawing from graves, entwining psyches in a web of inherited poison that promised not freedom, but a darker inheritance of revenge's endless simmer. The ink on Judge Vasquez's December 20th, 1993, habeas corpus ruling had barely dried when the corridors of Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women transformed into a pressure cooker of anticipation and unease. The air electric with whispers of impending upheaval that seeped through the vents like invisible smoke. Evelyn Hardin, now 59 and a beacon of fragile resilience in her gray jumpsuit, sat cross-legged on her cot in cell 217. The ledger's photocopies spread before her like a war map under the dim desk lamp. Her hands, once calloused from kneading dough, traced the entries with a reverence bordering on ritual, each line a suture mending the psyche's deepest fissures. Dr. Fisk's morning session that day captured a pivotal evolution. Integration at 90%, with Chariot as conductor, harmonizing the altars into a unified chorus. The ledger isn't just evidence, Evelyn said, voice a steady timbre blending all selves. It's absolution. Fisk nodded, scribbling furiously. But outside the therapy room, storm clouds gathered. Vanessa Hardin, Tommy's sharp-tongued widow, had filed a blistering countersuit against the estate and Evelyn's legal team, accusing them of defamation from the grave and blood money extortion. The federal retrial, set for March 1994 in Birmingham, loomed not as liberation, but a coliseum where fractured alliances would clash, birthing phantom vendettas that clawed at Evelyn's hard-won psychic equilibrium. January 1994 dawned with a flurry of legal maneuvers that blurred the line between courtroom and confessional, each filing a psychic probe into Evelyn's core. Hale's office in Montgomery buzzed like a hive, paralegals poring over IRS audits, historians cross-referencing peonage precedents from post-Reconstruction cases. Lila Hardin, now the estate's reluctant steward, became the linchpin, testifying as co-plaintiff in the civil reparations suit, her weekly visits to Tutwiler a lifeline of whispered strategies through plexiglass. Vanessa's digging up Tommy's old letters, Lila confided on January 10th, her face pale under fluorescent lights. Accusing you of influencing his heart attack. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. Tommy, altar flickering briefly. He poisoned himself with guilt. But core Evelyn steadied. Let the phantom speak. Vanessa's suit exploded in headlines. Poison widow strikes back. Claiming the ledger was forged, Evelyn's DID a crock for sympathy bucks. Protests outside Tutwiler swelled to 200-strong domestic workers chanting, Free Evelyn, countered by Hardin loyalists waving, Justice for Tommy signs. Inside, the ward pulsed with divided loyalties. Some inmates hailed Evelyn as saint. Others, swayed by tabloids, eyed her suspiciously during meals, trays clattering louder than usual. Psychiatric monitoring intensified. Fisk ordering daily journals to track Vendetta's psychic toll. Evelyn's entries read like a dissociative diary. January 15th. Dream. Tommy's ghost at the wedding table, plate empty, eyes pleading. Lila offers gumbo. He refuses, clutches chest. Fisk diagnosed residual PTSD flares, prescribing mindfulness meditations in the yard. Evelyn pacing gravel circles, breath syncing with distant birdsong. Alters dialoguing silently. Mama Ruth soothing. Widow grieving. Group therapy evolved into a cauldron of shared phantoms. Tanya, now clean 6 months, shared her abuser's suicide note mirroring Tommy's. Evelyn facilitated. Vendettas haunt when unspoken. Bonds deepened. Chainbreaker's circle grew to 18, smuggling in herbal teas, chamomile for calm, past lax guards. But fractures spiderwebbed. February 2nd lockdown after a fight. Evelyn isolated 72 hours. Hallucinations blooming. Ledger pages animating. Harlan's scrawl morphing into serpents coiling around her throat. Fisk's emergency eval. Phantom integration. Vendettas externalized. Sedation quelled it, but Evelyn emerged sharper, sketching alliance maps. Lila versus Vanessa. Hale versus Lang. The countersuit's discovery phase unearthed disturbing alliances, each deposition a psychic landmine. February 10th, Vanessa deposed in a Montgomery law office, her peroxide hair and diamond rings clashing with the oak-paneled severity. Evelyn bewitched Tommy. Those eyes. After the pantry, he changed, distant. Hale's cross-exposed cracks. Vanessa's own ledger entries, Tommy's diary annex, revealed 1970s affairs, guilt-fueled rages at Evelyn. Lila's deposition, February 15th, was cathartic fire. Daddy enslaved her, Tommy assaulted her. Vanessa, complicit, docked her pay for stealing my jewelry she never took. Tears flowed. Evelyn, watching via video link in Tutwiler, integrated fully for the first time. Alters dissolving into one voice. Truth serves. Media frenzy peaked. Dateline NBC special, The Ledger's Ghosts. Interviewing Fisk. Evelyn's psyche is a battlefield. Alliances her armor. Public tide turned. Polls showed 68% favoring clemency. Petitions at 50,000. Ward dynamics fractured and reformed like fault lines. A new inmate, Regina, convicted of spousal poisoning, antifreeze in tea, idolized Evelyn. Teach me your recipe for strength. Late night whispers in laundry. Evelyn sharing breathwork. Inhale alliance, exhale venom. But betrayal stung. Nurse Ramirez, once ally, transferred after Vanessa's bribe attempt leaked, accusing Evelyn of manipulating staff. Paranoia rippled. Evelyn's journal. Phantoms wear friendly faces. Fisk intervened with art therapy. Evelyn painted fractured mirrors reflecting hardened faces. Tommy's melting into Harlan's. Vanessa a shadow puppet. By February 20th, 95% integration. Chariot obsolete. Core self-dominant. Hale visited. Read trial strategy. Peonage plus DID trauma. Manslaughter max. Evelyn. No, full truth. March 1st transport to Birmingham Federal Court was a psychiatric odyssey. Armored van through spring blooms, guards armed. Evelyn meditating en route. The courthouse, a modern glass edifice contrasting Montgomery's antiquity, thrummed with 300 spectators. Judge Vasquez reconvened, gavel echoing like a heartbeat. Hale opened. From ledger to psyche, enslavement birthed vengeance. Witnesses cascaded. IRS whistleblower detailing $750K evasion. Dr. Voss on racial DID cascades. Lila, unflinching. I free what father chained. Vanessa took the stand March 5th, venomous. Evelyn's a liar. Tommy died clean. But Hale's bombshell. Tommy's autopsy sealed. Trace arsenic from 1989 estate well contamination. Phantom dosing confirmed. Gallery gasped. Vanessa crumbled. Alliance shattered. Evelyn testified March 8th, radiant. The ledger wrote my chains. My mind broke them. No regret, only release. Cross-exam. Lang, special prosecutor. Phantom poison. Evelyn. Real pain. Jurors mesmerized. Deliberations spanned 5 days. Sequestered amid dogwoods blooming outside. Leaks. Holdouts swayed by phantom evidence. Tommy's death not natural, but slow poison's echo. Verdict, March 15th. Peonage guilty. Estate liable 2.5 reparations. Murders reduced to manslaughter via insanity. Immediate release pending appeal exhaustion. 6 months supervised. Cheers erupted. Evelyn, unchained in courtroom, embraced Lila. Alliances forged in fire. Vanessa fled, suit dismissed. Media storm, poison pansy pardoned. Back at Tutwiler, transitional. Ward celebrated. Contraband pie, Evelyn's recipe. Fisk discharged. Psyche whole. But phantom vendettas lingered. Sarah's letter. Vanessa vanished. Fear her return. Evelyn's final journal. Ghosts quiet, but whispers remain. Release hearing loomed April. Hale plotted halfway house. Lila gifted new apron. Cook your freedom. Yet as spring deepened, a clandestine fracture pulsed. Anonymous letters to Tutwiler. Unfinished recipe. Vanessa watches. Evelyn, sensing it, sharpened eyes. Phantoms don't die. They evolve. The fractured alliances had remade her world. But as freedom's door creaked open, a deeper vendetta brewed. Vanessa's shadow alliance with buried hardened secrets, poised to poison release with revelations that would test Evelyn's integrated mind to its breaking point, entwining past poisons in a web threatening not just liberty, but the fragile unity of soul. The iron gates of Julia Tutwiler prison swung open with a groan that echoed like a long-suppressed sigh on April 22, 1994, under a sky heavy with the promise of Alabama rain, releasing Evelyn Hardin into a world that had both sanctified and scarred her over the 3 years of her fractured odyssey. At 60, she stood taller than she had in decades, her posture annealed by integration, dressed in a simple cotton dress donated by Lila, emerald green, the color of new growth, and carrying a worn leather satchel containing her journal, sketches, and the ledger's photocopies, talismans of a psyche now 98% unified. Marcus Hale waited in his battered Ford, engine idling, his smile a beacon amid the cluster of reporters straining against police tape, cameras flashing like accusatory eyes. "You're free, Evelyn," he said softly as she slid into the passenger seat, the door clicking shut like a final chapter closing. Lila followed in her own car, tears glistening, bound for the Montgomery Halfway House for Women, a modest 2-story brick building on the city's outskirts, nestled among live oaks dripping Spanish moss, a transitional sanctuary for 12 residents overseen by Counselor Beatrice Langston, a no-nonsense widow in her 50s, with a voice like warm molasses. As the convoy wound through blooming azaleas, Evelyn gazed out the window, her reflection in the glass a mosaic of altars faded into wholeness. The shadows sleep, but the house remembers. Yet beneath that serenity, a subterranean tremor stirred. The phantom vendettas from the trial had not evaporated. They had migrated, coalescing in the form of Vanessa Hardin's unseen machinations, poised to infiltrate this fragile freedom and test the seams of Evelyn's rebuilt mind. Arrival at the halfway house unfolded like a ritual of reclamation under Beatrice's watchful eye. The foyer smelled of lemon polish and simmering vegetable soup, a faint echo of Evelyn's old domain that brought a ghost of a smile to her lips. Orientation, rules etched in a laminated sheet, 9 p.m. curfew, weekly therapy, job search mandatory, no contact with triggers. Room 4, a sunlit 10x12 space shared with Maria, a 38-year-old former embezzler from Birmingham, her bunk neat, walls adorned with family photos. Evelyn unpacked methodically, placing her journal on the nightstand, the ledger hidden in a false-bottom drawer. Beatrice's welcome dinner that evening, collard greens, cornbread, black-eyed peas, drew the residents around a scarred oak table. Tanya from Tutwiler transferred early, Regina the antifreeze devotee, quiet PTSD veteran Carla, and others, eyes curious on the poison pansy. "Share your story if you want," Beatrice prompted. Evelyn's voice flowed steady. "I cooked revenge. Now I cook peace." Laughter rippled. Alliances reformed instantly. Tanya clasping her hand. Chain breakers forever. But as forks clinked, Evelyn's intuition prickled. A wrongness in the air like arsenic's faint tang. Therapy resumed under Dr. Miriam Voss, commuting weekly from her Yale-affiliated practice. Sessions in the house's cozy den with its threadbare couch and potted ferns. First appointment April 25th. Voss noted Evelyn's glow. Integration complete, post-traumatic growth evident. They mapped maintenance. Daily mindfulness walks in the backyard garden. Journaling triggers. EMDR refreshers for phantom flashes. Evelyn thrived. Mornings planting herbs. Basil, thyme, no belladonna. Her hands rediscovering soils therapy. Afternoons. Job hunt at the temp agency. Landing part-time kitchen aide at a community center, 70-50 hour, her first real wage in 34 years. Evenings. Group circles in the living room. Evelyn mentoring. Breathe the hurt out. Stir in strength. Bonds deepened. Maria confiding marital betrayals mirroring Tommy's. Carla sharing veteran isolation akin to Evelyn's servitude. Lila visited Sundays, bringing estate checks, first $10,000 reparations installment, funding a small savings account. Buy a home, Lila urged. Evelyn, first ground myself. Public life bloomed cautiously. Oprah follow-up interview at the house, Evelyn radiant. Freedom tastes like home-baked bread. Ratings soared. Petitions for full pardon gathered 100,000. Yet the shadows encroached subtly, a psychiatric siege disguised as normalcy. First whisper, May 5th, anonymous letter slipped under her door. Empty plate waits, VH. Vanessa's initials. Evelyn burned it in the sink. Voss noting mild anxiety spike but no switch. Second, May 12th, phone call to the house line. Hang up with breathing like Harlan's rasp. Beatrice investigated. Traced to a payphone near Hardin Ruins. Evelyn journaled. Phantoms test the door. Voss adjusted. Visualization exercises. Imagining shadows as mist. Dissipating. Work provided anchor. At the community center, Evelyn's Gumbo toxin-free fed 50 seniors weekly, earning Queen of Comfort nickname. But May 20th fracture, grocery run, spotting Vanessa's red convertible idling blocks away, eyes locked through rear view. Heart raced to 110. Voss session. Residual hypervigilance normal. Integration held at 97%. June brought escalation. Alliances fracturing under phantom pressure. Tanya, rooming nearby, reported slashed tires. Vanessa's MO from trial leaks. House meeting, paranoia rippled. Beatrice bolstered security. Deadbolts, visitor logs. Evelyn led breathwork. Allies stand. Phantoms fade. Lila's June 10th visit. Bombshell. Vanessa sued estate for Tommy's poison legacy. Claiming arsenic traces caused his death, demanding $5 million. Hale countersued. Harassment. Evelyn testified remotely. She chases ghosts to bury truth. Stress peaked. Nightmare. June 15th. Wedding replay. Vanessa as bride collapsing. Morning cortisol test. Elevated. Voss prescribed low-dose propranolol for anxiety. Ward echoes resurfaced. Regina idolizing too intensely, whispering, "Teach me real recipes." Evelyn set boundaries. Peace, not poison. Job promotion. Head cook, 9-hour. Savings, $3,200. Climactic intrusion, July 4th, Independence Day irony. House barbecue in the yard. 20 residents grilling burgers. Fireworks popping distant. Evelyn basted ribs, laughing with Maria when a package arrived. Unmarked, postmarked, Selma. Inside. Charred ledger page, 1968 assault entry circled. Note. Your freedom, my widowhood's price. Sign confession or Tommy's full autopsy releases. Vanessa's hand. Evelyn froze, pulse thundering. Core self-held, but Lila whispered faintly. Stir back. She called Hale, Voss emergency, house lockdown. Beatrice notified police, fingerprints, Vanessa's. Psychiatric eval, dissociation risk 5%, contained by allies circle. Tanya hugging, we got you. July 7th, arrest. Vanessa charged with stalking, bail denied. Media frenzy. Poison widow behind bars. August healed fractures. Voss declared 100% integration, psyche unbreakable. Evelyn's garden yielded first harvest. Herbs for house teas. Lila gifted plot in Montgomery, future home site. Community center event. Evelyn's cooking class, 40 attendees, her story woven. From chains to choice. Full pardon granted August 15 by governor. Ceremony at house, Voss presiding. Evelyn's speech. Shadows served. Light endures. Reparations final. 2.5 meter, half to workers fund. September. Home purchase, cozy bungalow with kitchen island. Roommates visited. Alliances eternal. Yet the halfway house's shadow lingered one final test. October 1st, Vanessa's trial. Evelyn testified unflinching. Her vendetta. My mirror once. Now I release. Verdict. Guilty. 3 years. Post-trial. Evelyn walked garden alone. Journal closing. Phantoms exorcised recipe whole. Beatrice's farewell dinner. Evelyn's gumbo. Tears and toasts. As she drove to her bungalow October 15th, Hale trailing, freedom solidified. But in the rear view, a fleeting doubt. Vanessa's glare from courtroom feed. Whispers ceased. Psyche sovereign. The halfway house had forged Evelyn's final tempering, not in isolation but alliance. Yet as bungalow lights welcomed her, a clandestine fracture pulsed deeper still. Buried hardened artifacts unearthed by Vanessa's lawyers, revealing not just Tommy's sins but Harlan's blood secret, entwining Evelyn's origins in a psychic web threatening to unravel her hard-won wholeness, promising revelations that would bind past poisons to an unforeseen inheritance of mind and legacy. The scent of fresh paint and sun-warmed pine enveloped Evelyn Hardin as she unlocked the door to her new bungalow on October 16, 1994, a modest two-bedroom haven on Elm Street in Montgomery's historic district, its white clapboard walls and wraparound porch a stark contrast to the concrete cages of her past. At 60, she stepped over the threshold with a satchel in one hand and a potted rosemary in the other, symbols of rooted freedom, her emerald dress swaying gently in the breeze that carried whispers of autumn leaves skittering across the lawn. Lila Hardin trailed behind, arms laden with groceries, her face alight with vicarious joy. Your kitchen, Evelyn. Finally yours. The space gleamed. Granite counters she'd chosen herself. Copper pots hanging like constellations. A window herb garden framing views of magnolia trees. Marcus Hale arrived minutes later with the deed, his signature flourish sealing $85,000 of reparations into permanence. Evelyn paused in the doorway, hand tracing the frame, her unified psyche humming with a serenity unbroken since integration. Home isn't walls. It's the hand that stirs. They unpacked amid laughter. Lila's cornbread recipe cards, Hale's case files archived in a lockbox. But as dusk painted the sky bruised purple, a courier van rumbled up, delivering a sealed manila envelope stamped, Hardin Estate Legal, Urgent. Evelyn's fingers hesitated, the return address chilled, Vanessa Hardin's attorneys. Inside, not threats but a genealogical bombshell, a 50-page dossier titled The Forgotten Heir, DNA and Legacy, unearthed during Vanessa's trial discovery, shattering the fragile architecture of Evelyn's wholeness with a reckoning that blurred victim, villain, and bloodkin in a psychic maelstrom of inherited shadows. Evelyn sank into a wicker chair at the kitchen table, the dossier spreading before her like a venomous deck of cards under the pendant light's warm glow. Page 1. A 1994 DNA report, commissioned by Vanessa's lawyers to discredit the peonage claims, but backfiring spectacularly. Samples from Harlan's exhumed remains, court-ordered, Tommy's stored autopsy tissue, Lila's cheek swab, and, crucially, Evelyn's own blood from Tutwiler files. Results: 99.9% match. Harlan Hardin was Evelyn's biological father. Gasps escaped her lips. The room spun faintly, not dissociation but a seismic psychic quake. Flashbacks cascaded without hypnosis. 1959, pre-servitude, Evelyn at 25, working Harlan's mill as a seamstress. His generous advances not charity, but coercion masked as courtship. The ledger's first entry now screamed truth. Acquired E. Johnson, my daughter bound. Pregnancy hidden, stillbirth in 1962 attributed to stress, but the dossier revealed hospital records. A living boy adopted out via Harlan's broker to a white family in Georgia, named Elias Crow. Wait, Dr. Crow? Evelyn's trial psychiatrist? The coincidence fractured further. Page 15. Crow's adoption papers, redacted name H.J. Harlan Johnson? Her psyche reeled, core self clutching the table edge as buried altars stirred faintly. Mama Ruth murmuring, blood calls blood. Dr. Miriam Voss arrived by 8 p.m., summoned by Lila's frantic call, her medical bag thumping on the counter like a gavel. The den became an impromptu clinic. Evelyn on the couch, pulse 105, Voss's stethoscope cold against her chest. No regression, Voss diagnosed after vitals, but anamnesis overload. Repressed filiation trauma. Session stretched to midnight. EMDR with dossier photos. Harlan's stern portrait morphing into paternal gaze. Baby Elias's faded snapshot eyes mirroring Evelyn's. Revelations poured. 1960. Job offer. Harlan's ploy to control his illegitimate daughter post-stillbirth cover-up. Docking pay to punish indiscretion. Tommy's 1968 assault. Incestuous echo. Harlan's knowing silence a generational curse. Lila, eavesdropping, sobbed. Sister, I'm your half-sister. Embrace followed. Blood alliance forged in tears. Hale paced, phone glued. Recalibrates everything. Incest trauma amplifies DID etiology. By dawn, Evelyn stabilized, journal entry scrawled, "Not servant, daughter poisoned by father." Integration held at 99%, but a new fracture line. Identity rewrite. October 17th ignited a legal and psychiatric whirlwind. Hale filed emergency motions, wrongful incarceration addendum, 5 Muller incest reparations against estate. Media descended, bungalow swarmed by vans, Evelyn shielding eyes behind curtains, headlines, "Poison pansy as harden air." Protests evolved. Blood justice now. Vanessa's trial ongoing imploded. Her lawyers withdrew, citing ethical breach. She pled guilty October 20th. Sentence doubled to 6 years for concealment. Lila transferred estate control to Evelyn. Full ownership, 1.2 Mutter liquid, but psychic toll mounted. Nightmares of Harlan's ghost at the mill, whispering, "My recipe for you." Voss daily visits. Breathwork in the porch swing, visualizing bloodlines as rivers, not chains. Community rallied. Neighbors baked pies, toxin tested. Tanya drove from halfway house. Sisters in chains break together. Evelyn's kitchen became therapy hub. Cooking classes for survivors. Gumbo symbolizing blended legacies. October 25th. Bombshell, Elias Crow, the psychiatrist, arrived unannounced, dossier in hand. At 34, he bore Harlan's jawline, Evelyn's eyes, her son, stolen. Threshold moment. Doorway stare, then collapse into arms. "I evaluated you, my mother." Tears flooded. DNA confirmed. Psychiatric fusion. Crow's sessions now dual. He as son, Voss as guide. Hypnosis unlocked 1962. Harlan bribing doctor. Evelyn sedated. Baby whisked. Crow's adoption tale. Affluent upbringing, psychiatry career drawn to DID by subconscious pull. Integration surged to 100%. Alters obsolete. Psyche a monolith. Blood reckoning heals. Evelyn whispered. Lila and Elias moved in temporarily. Family table set for 4. First meal Evelyn's cornbread. Laughter healing wounds. November deepened the reckoning. Federal hearing November 10th. Vasquez, stunned, granted full exoneration, 10 million total reparations. Evelyn's testimony. Father's poison birthed mine. Truth antidotes all. Crow co-testified. My career, unconscious quest for her. Verdict. Innocence proclaimed. Public apology from D.A. Lang on steps. Bungalow overflowed. Oprah reunion special filmed, ratings record. Workers' Fund launched. Evelyn's Kitchen. Shelters nationwide. Psychic maintenance. Voss weekly. Crow monthly. Family therapy blending blood and mind. December holidays tested wholeness. Christmas Eve dinner. Lila, Elias, Tanya, Maria, Beatrice. 20 souls around extended table. Gifts. Elias's baby photo album. Lila's locket with stillborn son's lock. Exhumed truth. No phantoms. Toasts to recipes redeemed. But final fracture pulsed. Dossier appendix. Harlan's 1958 will codicil. Evelyn heir if acknowledged. Vanessa had known, used it for blackmail leverage. Her prison letter arrived Christmas Day. Blood binds. Forgive? Evelyn burned it. Voss approving. Closure. As 1994 closed, snow dusting the bungalow roof, Evelyn's journal culminated. From slave cook to blood queen. Psyche sovereign. Garden winterized. Kitchen simmering mulled cider. Lila and Elias stayed. Alliances eternal. Reparations funded foundation. Trauma centers for racial DID. Media faded, normalcy bloomed. Grocery runs unescorted, church pews welcoming. Yet the reckoning birthed one last whisper. Elias's therapy revelation. His own nascent dissociation from adoption trauma. Evelyn mentored. Stir gently. Integrate. Full circle. The bloodline reckoning had transmuted Evelyn's fractures into fortitude. Inheritance not curse but crown. But as New Year's dawn broke, a clandestine pulse lingered. Unopened dossier annex from Harlan's safe. Letters to Evelyn's mother, revealing not one but twin sons born 1962, second adopted unknown. The web tightened, promising a final confrontation with shadows unborn, entwining psyches in a legacy of revelations that would summon the lost twin, testing Evelyn's unbreakable mind against the ultimate recipe for familial poison, and profound redemptive union. The first light of January 1st, 1995, filtered through the frost-laced windows of Evelyn Hardin's bungalow like a hesitant promise, casting elongated shadows across the kitchen table where the unopened dossier annex lay sealed with brittle wax, its edges yellowed as if harboring secrets too ancient for modern eyes. Evelyn, now 60 and a pillar of psychic sovereignty, rose before dawn, her bare feet padding silently across the cool hardwood floors, drawn inexorably to the envelope by an internal compass recalibrated through bloodline reckonings. The air hummed with the faint scent of last night's mulled cider, a comforting vestige of holiday unity, but her fingers trembled slightly as she broke the seal, not from fear, but from the gravitational pull of unfinished legacies. Inside, 7 letters penned in Harlan Hardin's spidery script to Evelyn's mother, Ruth Johnson, dated 1961 to 1962, bundled with a 1994 private investigator's report commissioned by Vanessa's defunct legal team. The annex revealed the shattering truth. Twins born to Evelyn in that hidden 1962 delivery, Elias Crow and his identical brother, Marcus Lang, adopted separately to sever any trace. Marcus, the ambitious prosecutor who had branded her monster in court. Evelyn's breath caught, a psychic aftershock rippling through her fully integrated mind. Not just one son stolen, but 2, woven into the very fabric of her persecution. The letters unfurled like venomous vines. Harlan's confessions of coercion. Ruth, your daughter's belly swells with my shame. Twins, both mine. I'll place them far. Silence buys our peace. The PI report tracked Marcus to a privileged Atlanta upbringing, Yale law, his prosecutorial zeal, a subconscious crusade against the maternal void. The twin shadows converged, not in violence, but in a profound psychiatric entanglement that threatened to either cement Evelyn's wholeness or summon dormant fractures from the depths of familial oblivion. Evelyn's hands steadied as she summoned Dr. Miriam Voss by telephone, her voice a calm anchor. Come now. The recipe completes. Voss arrived within the hour, snowflakes melting on her coat, finding Evelyn at the table with Lila and Elias. The annex splayed open like a surgical diagram. The den transformed into a therapeutic sanctum. Voss's portable EEG humming softly, monitoring brainwaves for regression spikes. None registered. A testament to Evelyn's unyielding integration. Session commenced at 7:15 a.m., Voss guiding. Visualize the twins as branches, not burdens. Evelyn narrated fluidly. Flashbacks to the sedated delivery, twin cries muffled, Harlan's silhouette in the doorway. Marcus fought me in court, his eyes, my eyes, Harlan's jaw. Lila gasped, Elias paled. Brother? The DA? Voss probed deeper, EMDR lights pulsing. Marcus's trial barbs replayed. Trojan horse, now reframed as orphaned rage. Evelyn's response, he poisoned his own case with absence. No altars stirred. Psyche held like forged steel. By noon, action crystallized. Hale alerted, drafting summons for Lang's DNA verification and mediated reunion. This isn't confrontation, Evelyn declared. It's convergence. January 2nd ignited a maelstrom that blurred legal, familial, and psychic realms. Hale's motion filed in Birmingham Federal Court. Familial disclosure addendum. Prosecutorial conflict of interest. Leaked to media by noon. CNN breaking. Poisoned pansies, twin prosecutors. Shocking blood revelation. Montgomery erupted. Reporters encamped on Elm Street. Neighbors forming human chains for privacy. Lila fortified the bungalow. Curtains drawn. Phone lines rerouted. Elias, reeling, drove to Atlanta unbidden, confronting Marcus Lang at his opulent Buckhead home. The PI report detailed the scene. Marcus, 33, in silk robe, coffee mug shattering on marble. Impossible, until Elias thrust the annex forward. DNA kit administered on site. Results expedited. 99.9% match. Marcus collapsed into a leather armchair, sobs racking. I hunted her. My mother? Elias embraced him. Brotherhood instant. Shadows merging. Evening call to Evelyn. Voices trembling across lines. Marcus whispering, forgive my blindness. Evelyn. Eyes open now. Table set for all. Psychiatric convergence accelerated under Voss's orchestration. January 3rd. Emergency family therapy at bungalow. Marcus arriving under Hale's escort, face ashen against snowbanks. Circle formed. Evelyn center, Voss facilitating. EEGs on all three. Synced alpha waves signaling psychic harmony. Marcus unburdened. Adoption trauma fueling prosecutorial fury. Subconscious vendetta against hardened patriarch via Evelyn proxy. Your smile in court haunted me. Maternal echo I couldn't place. Evelyn shared stillbirth grief. Twin separations void birthing her DID. Elias mediated. We were the poison he brewed. Now we antidote. Breathwork synchronized. Inhales drawing shadows close. Exhales releasing into light. Integration for Marcus. Nascent dissociation diagnosed. Therapy prescribed. By session's end, hands clasped. Twin psyches converging. Evelyn's wholeness radiating like a hearth. Legal reckonings cascaded. January 5th hearing. Vasquez, Joslack vacated all proceedings. Unprecedented conflict. Full exoneration, 50-meter augmented reparations. Lang resigned DA post. Public apology televised. My blood-blinded justice. Evelyn, my mother, is innocent. Vanessa, in prison, wrote capitulation. Twins trump my shadows. Estate dissolved fully to Evelyn. Hardened plantation raised for community center. Evelyn's legacy kitchen. Media zenith. 2020 special. Family reunited on set. Ratings eclipsing Watergate. Public wept. Petitions for National Holiday Truth Convergence Day. Ward echoes resounded. Tanya, Maria, Beatrice visited January 10th halfway house alumni toasting twins' arrival. Evelyn's kitchen pulsed. Twin gumbo pots simmering. Elias chopping okra. Marcus stirring roux. Laughter healing generational wounds. Voss Weekly. Group EMDR. Visualizing Harlan's letters as ash scattering on winds. Marcus's therapy bloomed. Pro bono for trauma survivors. Channeling rage to reform. Elias published Shadow's Twin, a psychiatrist's odyssey. Evelyn mentored Stir Souls, Not Stews. February deepened bonds. Valentine's dinner. 25 souls. Family, allies, survivors. Evelyn's cornbread heart-shaped. Marcus proposed reparations fund expansion. Racial trauma clinics nationwide. Psychic check. Voss declared convergent wholeness. No fractures. Psyches entwined as one. Garden thawed. Twins planted twin oaks. Roots mirroring blood. March trials for remaining hardened enablers. Clara's kin charged with peonage complicity. Verdicts swift. Evelyn testified remotely. Blood converges. Justice flows. Conviction sealed. April 15th climax. National Foundation launch Montgomery Capitol steps. Evelyn twins flanking 5,000 attendees. Speech. From slave cook to family forge. Shadows converge in light. Reparations. $50 million endowment. Media fade. Normalcy. Grocery with Marcus. Church with Elias. May. Bungalow expanded. Twin suites added. Journal peak. Shadows no more. Convergence eternal. June. Lila's wedding. Evelyn efficient. Gumbo feast. No poison. Only promise. July 4th. Family picnic. Fireworks symbolizing burst shadows. August. Voss's book. Twin psyche. Evelyn's legacy. September. Marcus elected reform. DA. October. 1-year anniversary. Annex burned in garden fire, ashes to oaks. As 1995 waned, snow returning, Evelyn's table groaned under harvest feasts. Psyche unbreakable. Twins her guardians. Whispers silenced. Recipe complete. The twin shadows converged, not to shatter, but to sanctify Evelyn's mind, transmuting every fracture into familial fortitude. Bloodline's final reckoning birthed a legacy unpoisoned, yet in the annex's last ash a faint unspoken pulse. Harlan's unwritten 8th letter, hinting at a third heir, a daughter hidden deeper, poised for ultimate revelation in the closing chapters of the psychiatric odyssey. As the final embers of the garden fire flickered into oblivion on that crisp October evening in 1995, carrying the ashes of Harlan Hardin's 8th letter, its cryptic scrawl hinting at a third heir, a daughter veiled in shadows even deeper than the twins' convergence. Evelyn Hardin stood resolute on her bungalow porch, the twin oaks planted by Elias and Marcus silhouetted against a star-pricked esquisse. Kursk at 61, her silhouette was no longer that of a fractured servant, but a sovereign matriarch, her emerald dress whispering against the wind like pages of a closed book. The air, scented with smoldering oak and distant rain, held the weight of completion. No third heir emerged. No final phantom clawed free. The letter's promise dissolved into myth, a psychiatric decoy crafted by Harlan to bind from beyond the grave. Evelyn's hand rested on the porch rail, her unified mind a fortress of serenity. Every altar integrated, every trauma transmuted into legacy. The bungalow hummed behind her. Laughter from the kitchen where Lila stirred cornbread. Elias and Marcus debated foundation expansions over coffee. Tanya and Maria set the table for 30 souls. The recipe for revenge had evolved into one of redemption, a gumbo of blood, justice, and unbreakable psyche that fed not agony but abundance. This wasn't an ending. It was an eternal simmering, a testament to the human mind's infinite capacity to rise from poison into profound, luminous wholeness. And you, dear seeker, have journeyed every shadowed step with her, emerging not scarred, but enlightened, part of a select vanguard who dared witness the inexplicable unravel to its radiant core. Congratulations, you've reached the end, the true heart of the slave cook, the recipe for revenge. You are among the elite, the 1% of souls brave enough to traverse this dark tunnel from 1992's blood-red wedding sunset to 1995's starlit porch of convergence. Few commit to such depths. Fewer still emerge transformed, carrying Evelyn's unyielding truth like a lantern against the night. You've seen how decades of enslavement fractured a psyche into altars of survival, how arsenic's bitter kiss unveiled not just vengeance, but a bloodline reckoning that toppled empires of silence. You felt the courthouse crucible's heat, the iron cell's echoes, the halfway house's testing shadows, and the twin convergence's cathartic embrace. This story marks you. It reveals the fragility of morality in chains, the mind's genius for dissociation as armor, and the vulnerability we all share. How evil simmers unseen at our tables until truth's ladle stirs it free. Evelyn's odyssey changes everything. Justice isn't blind, it's bloodbound. The human mind isn't breakable, it's alchemical. And safety, it blooms when we name our phantoms. You've become her ally in this eternal kitchen, stirring legacies that outlast graves. Now forge that bond deeper. Right here, in the comments below, type these exact words. This story changed my way of seeing the human mind. Say it, type it, and feel the alchemy ignite. By doing so, you're not just reflecting. You're declaring your place among the most committed truth seekers, the hidden vanguard who pierce societal veils and reclaim hidden narratives. Your words will glow like embers, visible to fellow explorers. Adult men and women, 25 to 80, drawn to the sinister enigmas of real crime, unsolved psyches, and dark secrets. They'll see you, recognize you, and together, we'll build an unbreakable community, a digital roundtable where stories like Evelyn's simmer eternally, dissected, honored, shared. Each comment weaves our tapestry stronger. Imagine 10,000 voices echoing. This story changed my way of seeing the human mind. A chorus amplifying the inexplicable, ensuring no psychiatric fracture goes unilluminated, no bizarre case buried in shadows. You're not alone, you're legion, the ones who dare where others flinch. Your commitment? It fuels more revelations, more tunnels traversed, more minds forever altered. But don't stop at words. Share this video now, like scattering seeds in fertile soil. Press that share button and watch the ripple. Send it to that friend haunted by family secrets, the colleague fascinated by true crime's underbelly, the relative pondering justice's bends. Use this unsettling metaphor. In a world of bland broth served by silent cooks, this video is Evelyn's gumbo. Rich, layered, laced with truths that burn illusions away, leaving only nourishing clarity. Share it. And you're not just spreading a story. You're unleashing a psychic contagion of awakening, one click at a time. Imagine. Your share pulls another soul into the tunnel. They emerge changed, share further. A chain reaction of convergence, toppling personal Harlans, integrating private altars, forging real-world alliances against invisible enslavements. By sharing, you honor Evelyn's recipe, from one pot of poison to banquets of redemption, feeding thousands. Society buries these tales in unmarked graves. Your shares are the shovels, exhuming them for light. Do it now. Feel the power surge as notifications bloom, connections converge, a community swells like rising dough. And to keep this flame eternal, subscribe to the channel today. Hit that red button, ring the bell, become part of our unique enclave, a sanctuary for the enigmatic obsessed. We're not a faceless feed. We're a coven of curiosity killers, gathering weekly to decipher the bizarre, the disturbing, the psychiatric monstrosities America tried to forget. Subscribing locks you into the journey. Notifications like whispers from the shadows, pulling you back for the next case. Perhaps the 1980s whisperer who convinced juries of ghosts, or the 2000s dissociative doll maker whose toys held souls. You'll get early access to scripts, community polls on themes, live Q&As where we dissect your theories. Feel the pull. This isn't consumption, it's communion. A subscription sealing you into our roundtable, where viewers like you, fascinated by sinister enigmas, real crimes chills, dark secrets allure, trade insights over virtual cornbread. Metaphorically, subscribing is donning Evelyn's apron, not to serve chains but to cook freedom, stirring collective psyches toward light. Our community, 100,000 strong and growing, ages 25-80, men and women united in truth hunger. Subscribers get badges, Shadow Converger, Recipe Redeemer, visible proofs of your elite status. Miss an upload? The bell tolls. You're summoned. Together, we keep the inexplicable alive, one dramatic, emotional, provocative tale at a time. Continue watching. Don't wander. Cue the next video now. Let Evelyn's convergence propel you into The Whispering Juror, 1987's ghostly verdicts, where a schizophrenic attorney's spectral testimonies freed killers, or dive into Dollmaker's Dissociation, 2003's Soulless Toys. Each one a tunnel deeper, emotions rawer, revelations sharper. Your curiosity is the fire, our stories the fuel. You've proven your mettle. Stay, stir, subscribe, share, type. This story changed my way of seeing the human mind. Below, like to amplify, share to converge, subscribe to endure. You're not just a viewer. You're Evelyn's heir, psyche sovereign, community cornerstone. Welcome home. The pot simmers eternally. What truth will you uncover next?